Okay, so briefly, let me explain why I have to set up weekly meeting for HOA and appraisal docs. I know that April's doing a great job on ordering the appraisal HOA cert as well as completing the checklist. But if there's any critical issues found in HOA cert or appraisal report, seems like you just complete the checklist and then just for all the documents to us for us to review. But I think ultimately it will be better if you can review HOA cert and appraisal report thoroughly on your end. And if there's any critical issues found in those documents, you may go back to AMC or HOA company to get some additional documents. So on top of completing the HOA checklist or appraisal checklist, I want you to understand how to review those documents and see if those documents follow the guidelines that we are following. So for today, I just want to show you the checklist of HOA cert and then go over what to look for and if what critical issues you may find in HOA cert. And the reason that I want Sydney to join is ultimately Sydney will take over the senior processing, and I want her to know how to review the HOA cert as well. So once you're done with reviewing the HOA cert, Sydney may shadow your work. So let me share my screen first. Do you guys see my screen? Okay. So before we start, I want you to know that when we are ordering the HOA cert, uh, we do have uniform form to order the HOA cert, which is agency form, the Fannie Mae form, which I'm going to be showing it to you right now. So usually this form 1076 is a general form to order the HOA cert. But many lenders, they customize for their own. So you will be seeing different forms that look like different from this 1076. And also some HOA requires us to order HOA cert through their portal, which we have to order with their form. And they completed the HOA cert in computerized form. They typed up automatically. So although we have general form, many times there's a time when you'll have to request it with lender specific form or HOA specific form, just so you know. But as long as HOA cert has all the information that our guidelines require, we really don't mind which forms to use. Okay. So for today, I want to show you different lender specific forms. Next week, I'm gonna cover HOA specific forms because those are pretty longer forms compared to the lender specific forms. So today I'm gonna be showing it to you the lender specific form. I have three different forms. But let me open up a checklist that I made for April. So Cindy, also, when you get to review the HOA cert, you will need this checklist. This checklist can be found in training material. There's a section for checklist, and I save all the checklists for each document. HOA cert will be the one. Let's look at the first one. This one on the right-hand side is for JMAC lending. So they have their own form and they want us to complete this HOA cert with their specific form. So when you are reviewing HOA cert, the very first thing you have to check is project name and project address. If project name and project address are blank, it means it's not completed. So you have to go back to HOA and ask them to complete it. So project name, if you don't see it, stop and you complete it from HOA. I want you to add this. I know April's already doing this whenever you don't see incomplete project name and address, but just want to add this for any newbies coming in to take over this HOA task. And also some lenders do have lender information section. I don't think this form has lender section. So if that's the case, you may skip because lender name will be ours because we're the correspondent lender. So if lender name is missing, you can simply type up our company name and address, right? And you gotta check if the subject project is new or not. If it's new, then there are some additional documents you need, which are budget, CCNR, and bylaws. New condo project or all condo projects must have those documents, but for established projects, we really don't need CCNR and bylaws. Most likely, we will need HOA Cert, master UI, and budget. But if the project is new, underwriter has to review all the laws and all the policies that HOA has to see if that follows our agency guidelines. That's why if the project is marked as new, you have to request HOA Cert plus budget, CCNR bylaws, and master UI. And make sure the project is complete, although it's new. If it's not completed, you have to get the date to be completed and the number of phases that are planned to be built. And if the project is an existing project, if it's established project, you have to get the date of the control of HOA being conveyed to the homeowners. So once the condo project is built, the new build, the ownership is owned by the builders. And once the buyer purchases each condo unit, and if all the condo project is completed, then builder conveys their ownership to the homeowners. For all established project, we must have the date of HOA ownership conveyed to the homeowners. If there's none, it means that it's not established project. For all established project, we must have the date of control transfer. And usually for getting the date of control of HOA being conveyed to the homeowners, we would need the month and the year. Some HOA provide year only, but we should get the month and the year. If it's blank, then you have to ask from HOA. Recently, we have one file that HOA didn't specify the exact months, right? So we had to go back and forth. So to avoid those delays, it will be always good to get the information up front. Yeah, it's the second question. It's just what I just covered. We have to get the month and the year when it was conveyed to the homeowners. And also for established project, it must be 100% complete. If the HOA person marked as it's not 100% complete, it means that it's not established project. So we have to get additional documents. So make sure for any established project, the HOA person should complete it 100% complete project. And the question also contains any conversion within past 3 years. If the project was converted from the original purpose, for example, it was used to be a hotel and it was converted to the project, then we have to get the date and the document to prove that it was officially converted from commercial to residential. Usually, most of the time, there is no conversion on the project, but there's sometimes you should be seeing any project that was converted from like commercial to the residential. So if that's the case, stop and get the additional documents. I'm gonna right here, conversion, stop and get that subject project converted to residential related to property conversion. Okay, and the HOA Cert must have the total number of units in the entire project. And out of total units, HOA must verify the number of primary units, meaning that the units that actual homeowners are living in. and number of secondary units and number of investment units. Sometimes HOA combine the number for secondary and investment units as offsite units. That's totally fine as long as we get the number for primary and non-primary units. Also, we have to get the number of sold units and the number of under contract units and number of unsold units. So for established project, the sold units must be the same as total units because it must be 100% complete and all the units should be conveyed to the homeowners. The ownership of the HOA must be conveyed to the homeowners. That's why for established project, make sure the sold units must be the same as total units. For any new project, you might see the number for under contract units, meaning that it's in contract with the builder, or unsold units, meaning that the units have not been sold to any homeowners. Also, HOA cert must contain monthly HOA due amount. Sometimes they write the exact monthly amount that they are collecting from each unit, but some project may charge monthly HOA with a different amount from each unit. So if that's the case, they usually give us the range. Like for example, 300 to 600. It means that they charge between 300 and 600 depending on the unit type. So that's totally fine as long as we see the amount. Range should be fine. Also, HOA cert must verify number of units over 60 days delinquent. So if there's any units who haven't paid HOA more than 60 days, HOA person must verify the number of units that they haven't collected the HOA fees over 60 days. If the ratio of the units that haven't paid the HOA over 60 days is more than 50% of the entire project, it's not qualified under agency guidelines. If that's the case, you have to stop and let me know so I can jump into the file and find a solution for that. So if the ratio is 50% of total units, stop and let senior processor know. Senior processor and MLO know. Okay. So LO can be on the same page. And also, I think for small project, there's a specific number of units requirement. Let me see. Anyway, entry. There's no specific number. Okay. Well, let's just check the out of total units. If more than 50% of units are over 60-day delinquent, then you have to stop and let LO and processor know. Also, HOA cert must verify the current reserves account as well as total budget balance. And from here, out of the total budget balance, minimum 10% of the budget must be allocated to the reserves for any maintenance. If you don't see the number, and if the ratio of the reserves is less than 10% of the budget, then you have to stop and ask HOA to get the updated budget or clarification why reserves account has less than 10% of the budget. We have the current file, I think it's Helen Choi, where they put 0 on the reserves allocation, which is not allowed for Fannie Mae loan. So they have to reallocate budget to the reserves account at least 10%. Okay. And we got the letter from the HOA and still waiting for CPM approval from Fannie. I'm not sure if it's going to be approved, but that's the minimum requirement that each HOA has to have to get the loan approved with Fannie Mae. So if the reserve is less than 10% of total budget, stop and contact HOA on clarification as to why it's not why your allocation 10% excess. Agency guidelines rule requires 10% of total budget must be allocated to reserve. Okay. And then there's a structural mechanical inspection section. The question will be asking if there's any structural or mechanical inspections report completed within 3 years. If it's no, that's fine. But if it's yes, you have to get the inspection report that was done in within 3 years. Okay. So if yes, then get a inspection report from HOA. Again. Okay. And also, I want to add one more. The HOA cert must have the question like if there's any structural soundness, structural matter, soundness. I don't remember that question. Oh, 50. Any structural soundness and or safety issue. If the answer is yes, then stop, and you have to get a related document. Document from HOA. So if there's any structural matter, soundness, or any safety issues, then you have to reach out to the HOA again and then get the document showing these matters and issues. Okay. And sometimes HOA might have special assessments. The reason that HOA adds special assessment is when there's recent repairs or when their EOI, master EOI premium went up. So they can cover that increase with their current reserves. They put additional charge to each unit owner until they meet their reserves fulfilled. So if there's any special assessment, you have to get the exact amount. Not only you get the exact amount, but you have to update it in Calyx. Update Calyx with Calyx, including regular and special HOA. And then check the DTI, because sometimes because of these special assessments, DTI might be over 50%. Then it means that the loan is not doable. So we have to have the power to pay off some debts or maybe to bring them additional funds towards down payment to decrease the DTI. If DTI is over 50, discuss with LO regarding restructure. Because with DTI over 50%, we can proceed any further. So it has to be resolved. Okay. And the HOAs also have questions like this. Is the lender liable for delinquent common charges if the unit is foreclosed on or prior to the lender acquiring the property? So if there's a unit that is foreclosed recently, the lender is not supposed to responsible for any delinquent debts that unit had. So it has to be marked as no. That's the recommendation. But if HOA has their own rule, it can be marked as yes, but the number of months cannot be longer than 6 months. If the month is longer than 6 months, then the project is not warrantable condo. Stop and reach out to MLO and senior processor. Okay? Because if the period is longer than 6 months, since we cannot consider this project as warrantable condo, we have to restructure it as non-warrantable condo, or this loan cannot be proceeded as pulled up. Okay, so make sure to check the number of months if it's checked as yes, but most likely it will be checked as no. Most of the project had no on this question. Also, the HOA cert will ask about the litigations. If there's any pending, if there's no pending litigations, that will be good. There's no any further documents. But if there is, then you have to get the litigation documents. It can be court documents or it can be attorney letter, which way will be fine as long as you can explain what this litigation is about. If the litigation is about structural matter or monetary issues, then you have to stop and let MLO and senior processor know. Because if it's regarding structural and monetary matter, then we can consider this as warrant of a condo. So we can proceed any further. If the litigation is regarding related to structural or monetary issues, stop and let MLO senior processor know. If it's about minor legal actions between like unit owners and HOA or HOA and builders, not related to monetary issue or structural, then getting litigation paper should be fine. Underwriter will clear it with the litigation papers. But if the litigation paper contains any contents about the money and structural matter, then underwriter might reject this loan as a fallback. So be very careful once you get any litigation paper, try to read it through. If it's hard to read, we have ChatGPT. So you can just unload the document and then ask ChatGPT to summarize the what litigation is about. Okay. And HOA Cert will have insurance carrier information. It should have the same information that you will see on the master EOI. So you don't really need to check whether if it contains the correct information because we will have master EOI. And also the HOA Cert must have the preparer's information. So any person who completed this HOA Cert must indicate their name, their position, their phone number or email address. So if there's any issues or if there's any additional conditions, conditioned by the underwriter, we can reach out to that person directly. Okay. So let's try to review these three different versions of HOA Cert. Let's start from JMAC Lending. So this HOA Cert has project name and project address. Project address can will be different from subject address because HOA has its own property address, so it can be different. So it has address and the total number of units. The entire project has 310 and subject phase has 310. It means that there's only one phase. If there are multiple phases, then the subject phase will have less number than the entire project. So some project has like 5 or 6 phases. Some project has just one phase. So the number will be the same as the entire project. And as you can see, the number of residential units sold and closed, all units are sold and closed, right? So we can assume that this will be the established project, not a new project. Number of units under contract, if it's sold and closed, this must be updated to 0. But I don't think underwriter condition for this to be updated. So we just kept it as is. But when the units are sold and closed, this number of units under contract must be shown as 0, right? If that makes sense. And the number of units sold under contract owned as primary, so it's asking about the number of primary units, is 258. And the second home, there's no second home units. And investment properties, there are 52. So what I do here is I just simply add up the primary units and investment units and see if the total units are matching with the total number of units. Sometimes HOA calculates incorrectly and the number is not matching and underwriter might condition for it and that's additional unnecessary condition. So if we can catch any error ahead of time, we and also underwriter can save some time to review, right? So let's do this calculation. And there's no units owned by the developer or association. If there is, then we cannot consider as an established project, and we have to find out why the units are still owned by the developer or association. And the project has 21 or more units. Does a single entity own more than 20% of the units within the project? If the project has 20 units or fewer, does a single entity own more than 2 units? If yes, please complete. It says no. If there's any units, any multiple units that are owned by the same owner, that can be the issue because it means that some projects were intently acquired by the same owner for investment purpose. And if there are many investment units in the entire project, underwriter would consider this project might be built for investment purpose, not for owner occupying purpose. And agency guidelines don't like the project to be rented out, to be main purpose to be rented out. So if same owner owns the single units more than 2 units or more than 20% of the units are owned by entity, not like individual, then that's a red flag. So you'll have to go back to HOA to clarify and let MLO and processor know. Okay. And common elements or facilities must be completed if it's an established project. And then number 6 is the question is the project subject to additional phasing and add-ons. If it's yes, it means that it's a new project. For new project, it can be planned, but for established project, it has to be answered as no. And number 7 is asking about the conversion. If there's any conversion, like I mentioned, get the documents, prove that it was converted from the commercial to residential, but it is answered as no, so we should be good. Okay, number 8, date, date control of the HOA was transferred from the developer to the unit owners. It only indicated the year, right? But like I said, we have to get the months and the exact year. So SimFi, JMAC has lenient guidelines on the HOA cert because some other lenders need specific month and the year when they are asking this question. So when you get only the year, then you have to go back to HOA to get the month that HOA was transferred from the developer to the unit owners. Okay, and here you see the budget of the year and the total reserves budgeted for this year. So right here, I do the simple calculation. I take the reserves amount, 300,000 divided by the total budget. It's 26%, right? It's 26%, which is more than 10%. So we should be good with the reserves. If you see any ratio less than 10%, that's the time where you have to stop and clarify with the HOA why the reserves is less than 10% of the total budget. And how many units are 60 or more delays delinquent on HOA dues? There are 25 units that have 60 or more days delinquent. So here you also do the simple calculation. 25 units divided by the total number of units, it's 8%. So since it's not over 15%, we should be good, although there are 25 units that are delinquent on the payments. Okay. These are not the important question. To the best of your knowledge, are there any adverse environmental factors? Those are not like major concerns, so you may skip. Um, are the units owned in fee simple? It should be answered as yes. If it's no, then that's the problem. And the litigation, there's no litigation. If it's answered as yes, then we have to get the document regarding the litigation. Oh, and sometimes HOA may have two separate HOA. One is master HOA, the other one is sub HOA. So if there are any master HOA, we have to get the information from both HOAs. So try to, when you are reviewing the HOA, so if there is any master HOA with the sub HOA, we have to get the monthly HOA for both and then take those both payments into the DTI. and make sure that DTI would work with two HOA payments. Okay? That's why this question 20 is asking about master HOA. And the commercial purpose, there may be a commercial zone in project, which I don't think agency guidelines allowed. I think there's a percentage. Requirement. It should be 35%. So more than 35% of the total entire project is used as commercial purpose, then the loan is not doable as a fallback. So most of the HOA will answer this question as no, but please look for this question when you're reviewing. If a unit is taken over in foreclosure, is a mortgage responsible for delinquent dues by the previous owner prior to the foreclosure? I mentioned this when we went over the checklist. It should be answered as no. Even if it's answered yes, as long as the responsible period is not over 6 months, we should be fine. Okay, an HOA answer. Sometimes HOA answers on behalf of master insurance, but most of the time they have us contact insurance agent directly. Then we have to ask those questions directly to the master UI company and save the email chain from them. Yeah, I think that's it. And on the bottom of the page, you see the company name, and the name of preparer, his signature, his job position, and his phone number and email address. So make sure you have this information. So whenever we get any updated conditions regarding HOA, we don't go to HOA general contact, but we may contact this specific person to discuss about HOA condition. Okay. Let's look at the NMSI version. Their form is pretty straightforward. So if we look from the top, it has project name and address, and it's asking property rights. It should be fee simple, and property type will be condo. For any pod townhouse, we really don't request HOA cert. So if it's a pod, we don't even need to pay for ordering HOA cert. So when you get HOA cert, this must be checked as condo. Unit type, sometimes condo may be detached, but most of the time, the reason that we are ordering HOA documents is because it's attached. For detached condo, it's underwriter's own discretion, but most likely underwriter won't request HOA cert if it's a detached condo. And the control of HOA date, this HOA specify the month, date, and the year, which is good. And this must be checked as yes. The project is 100% complete. It answer as yes. And if it's no, NMSI has us complete the new construction project questions, because if it's not 100% complete, it means that it should be considered as new construction. And if there's a conversion, the answer was marked as no. And let's look at the number of units in the project. It has 267 total number of units. And total number of units as primary second home is 186, and 81 units are investment offsite address. So I simply add up those two numbers, make sure the total number of units are matching. And the monthly HOA dues, this HOA specifically mentioned about the monthly HOA fee that they are collecting from each unit for 20. And they have current reserves account balance. And then how many units are over 60 days delinquent in common charges HOA assessment fees? There are 4 units. 4 divided by 267, it's 1.4%. So we should be good. Okay. For a new construction, NMSI requires us to complete a section. And for any conversion, we have to have HOA complete this section. And this section, the project shouldn't be condotel. It shouldn't be real estate property. Shouldn't be single units have multiple living spaces. The similar question that we saw in JMX HOA Cert. So all these questions must be answered as no. If it's answered as yes, then we have to get additional documents from HOA explaining about why they check these questions as yes. Okay, all answer as no. The number 31, the question, is there a structural or mechanical inspection report that has been completed within 3 years? If it's checked as yes, we have to get the inspection report, but if it's no, then we should be fine. And number 32 is a project in need of critical repairs, replacements that significantly impacts the safety, soundness, structural integrity, or habitability of the project. If it's answered as yes, then we have to get the papers explaining about these critical repairs and replacements. They don't have any special assessments. If the project, question 36, if the project has more than 20 units, does any single entity, individual, or group own more than 20% of the total units? It shouldn't be more than 20% of the total units. So it was answered as no, so we should be good. And number 38, is the HOA receiving more than 10% of its budgeted income from non-incidental business arrangements related to the active ownership and/or operation of amenities or services available to unit owners and public? So this is asking if 10% is allocated to maintenance reserves out of the total budget. It was answered as no. Actually, this is different question. Actually, this is asking about the commercial. It's not about the budget. Sorry. So if it's commercial, more than 10%, then this should be addressed with the documents. So this is not related to reserves. Sorry. Future bar. And question 39, is the lender liable for delinquent common charges if the unit is foreclosed on or prior to the lender acquiring the property? Its answer is no. If it's yes, it shouldn't be more than 6 months, as I just explained. And there's no pending litigation, so we don't have to collect any further documents. And they had the insurance carrier information or master EOI. And then they also have this preparer's information. And also these NMSI forms have state-specific questions. So if it's California, HOA must answer these questions. If it's Florida, then the HOA must answer this question. Okay. I don't think this NMSI form has a question about reserves. Maybe because they always request the budget report. So while they are reviewing the budget report, they might calculate it on their end to see if the total budget versus the allocations to the reserves and see if it's over 10%. That's why they didn't condition. They don't have that question in their HOA cert form. Okay. Lastly, let's look at the MS form. It's asking about lender information. You can simply put your name and the project name, project address, and it's asking about the monthly regular assessments. If there's any special assessment, HOA must answer here. And if there's master HOA, they have to indicate the master HOA name and their monthly fee as well. Okay. If any project unique characteristics are checked, it must be documented from the HOA. So if there's any boxes are checked for the question number 1, please get the document. And most likely, if any of the boxes checked here, it means that it might not be qualified for warrant of a condo. So look out for that question. And the total number of units for this project is 74, and all of the units were sold and closed. And number 2, are all units, common elements, and amenities completed in the subject project? Yes. If it's no, then it's new project. The control of homeowners association being turned over to the unit owners? Yes, but it didn't indicate the month and the year when the control of HOA was turned over to the unit owners. So we have to get a separate answer from HOA. We may save the email chain, or we may get the updated HOA cert indicating the month and the year when the control of HOA was turned over to the homeowners. And does a single entity own more than the following number of units in the project? It was answered as no, which is good. Uh, does the project contain more than 35% commercial spaces? No. If it's yes, then it's considered as non-warrantable condo. Are more than 50% of the total units 60 days or more delinquent in their regular assessments? No, which is good. If it's yes, then the condo is not considered as warrantable condo. There is pending litigations, because the answer is yes. So they have to provide the documents for pending litigations. So even before you say that you got the HOA cert, if you see yes on the pending litigation, stop and get the litigation papers first and get back to me saying that there's a litigation. So you are saving HOA cert and litigation papers in OneDrive. Okay. The structural, mechanical inspection within 3 years? No. If it's yes, then there should be a report. You have to share with the underwriter. There's no special assessments. Okay, let's look at the number 14. In the event that a lender acquires a unit due to foreclosure or deed in lieu of foreclosure, is the mortgagee responsible for paying delinquent common expense assessments? Most of the time, HOA answered this as no, but if it's yes, it shouldn't be more than 6 months. But because this HOA answer is 1 to 6 months, we should be fine, and it can be considered as warrantable condo because the period does not exceed 6 months. Okay. And if the condo is in Florida, this section must be answered. If the HOA is in California, the HOA must answer this question. Yep, I think that's it. Yeah. I think for next week's meeting, or maybe the one next to the one after next week's meeting, I might show you how to calculate and review the budget report as well, because some lenders always require budget report with the HOA cert. So I think it'll be better if you can review the budget report once it's in. So if the budget report does not follow agency guidelines, you can go back to HOA to clarify or verify. So let's stop here for today's meeting since it's already an hour past. Is there any questions regarding today's training? Nope. Okay. Next week, I'm gonna show you the HOA specific forms, and we'll cover the same contents, just like we did today. And for the next meeting after next week, I'm gonna be covering the budget report part. Okay. All right. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you.